Yakuza 2 was first released on December 7, 2006 for the PlayStation 2, and it became a very loved game in the community. In some places it actually got a better score than its predecessor. Which is a questionable choice, but I'll talk about it later. So Yakuza 2 was a huge hit back in 2006-2008, so in 2017 we got our well-deserved Kiwami episode from it. I already made a video on Yakuza Kiwami 1, so now it's time for Yakuza Kiwami 2. I loved the first game. The story, the characters, everything was perfect. But about 3 years ago, when I played the second game, I was disappointed. Because the fighting system was nothing like we saw in Kiwami 1, the story wasn't my favorite either. Originally they had 1 year between Yakuza 1 and Yakuza 2, so I can see why it's not as good as the first one. But now I replayed the whole game and I got the Platinum Trophy. And I think this game is... Okay, let's start at the beginning. The story. It's... okay. I know it's not a recent release, but I don't want to say a lot of spoilers, but I'll tell some details about the story, so you've been warned. So, the retired Kiryu Kazuma is living his retired life with Haruka, but then the 5th chairman of the Tojo clan gets assassinated by the Omi Alliance and Kiryu retires from retirement and goes back to the Yakuza life. In my opinion, the story itself is nothing special. After my first playthrough, I couldn't recall anything from the story, and while I'm writing this script, the same happens now as well. I can only recall the roller coaster, what this story was. At the beginning, it starts out amazing. Daigo is a good and interesting character, the plot looks promising, and you got a new city, Sotenbori. The cities have less invisible barricades, and with that the environment feels more alive. You can go to every little alleyway, you can go upstairs, and there are no loading screens between buildings. In Sotenbori you cross paths with Goda Ryuji, and I will talk about him later, but after your first encounter the story just gets... meh. I completely forgot about rescuing Daigo and Goda Jin. Sayama, the lead detective of the Osakan Police Division 4, gets too many screen times, and while her backstory is interesting, the character itself isn't, and she is the one and only character who I would kill instantly. She is really annoying. I think the Yumi and Kiryu relationship, while being thinner in Kiwami 1, it is more impactful than the Sayama and Kiryu relationship. And it seems like everyone loves her. Like, why? Am I missing something? What's going on? Everyone in the community loves this relationship, and I just have no idea why. And guess what? She's an orphan too. Wow, so original. We've never seen anything like this. What's with Yakuza characters being orphans? What the fuck is going on? Revealing her true identity was a good twist in the story, I'll admit it, but it was only in the last 40 minutes of the game, so it wasn't really impactful. Every single minute with her was a torture. But guess what, who's back and perfect as always? Majima Goro himself. If I have to choose a favorite video game character, it will probably be Majima. I don't think I have to explain this. Maybe in the future I'll dedicate a video to my love towards Majima, but not now. It's not about this. But it was so good to see him again, even if he didn't get a lot of screen time in the game. And when you got to the end of the game, there was the big boom. Literally. When the story and everything what happened so far hits you in the face, it's such a roller coaster. It starts out amazing, continues okay, and almost at the end with an amazing ending, but then so much. She's so nerve-wracking, and seeing this scene was too much for me. My only other big problem with the story, or maybe just with the location, is this big golden palace. What the fuck was that thing? How does it operate and just why? It was just like a weird fever dream or something. It was so absurd. Sure, the Yakuza series is weird, but they still have to have limits, right? And while we are at the locations, let's talk about Sotenbori a little. In one word, it's amazing. In 2 words, it's amazingly small. I mean, Kamurocho is not a big place either, but at least it's not only 7 streets in total. And okay, Dotonbori is not a big place either, it feels weird compared to Kamurocho. Don't get me wrong, I don't want a GTA-sized map because it's a different game, it's a different genre. I want a Kamurocho-sized map again. But other than that, Sotenbori looks amazing. It has a completely different vibe than Kamurocho with the river in the middle, and while it still has neon lights everywhere, it's still different than Tokyo. But god, I can't wait anymore. This game looks amazing, especially the particles, the lights and the reflections. I know it's the same engine as Yakuza 6, but I haven't played that game yet, so this was my first time with the Dragon engine. But after this, I can't wait to play Yakuza 6, 7 and Judgment. There are less invisible barricades, so you can move literally everywhere. I loved it since the very beginning of the game. And everything has physics, which makes the streets more alive and real. Every single puddle is perfect. Just look at it. It's so simple and so amazingly good. It's so nice. It's amazing. The character models are the same. They are gorgeous. Looking back to the older entries, the characters looked lifeless. Here, everything is alive, and the skin, the textures looks real. I really don't want to dedicate 10 minutes from this video to the whole world and how amazing it looks and feels, because I could just talk about it for 10 minutes, so let's get this straight. It's amazing. I really love the camera use in fights, it's really cinematic, and with that it just feels more epic. But back to the characters. I want to outline Ryuji. He is the main antagonist of this game, the Dragon of Kansai. I can only compare him to Nishiki and being the final boss, and man, you just can't beat Nishiki in being the best antagonist. The goal was clear from the very beginning of the game, and being Kiryu's friends just made it more impactful. Every time I see the final boss fight, my heart breaks because we saw his downfall.
昔のあの人じゃなくなっちまったんです。何でもするからさ。自分の目で確かめた人が必ずてっぺんに立ってやる。
But with Ryuji, we only realized who he really was in the very last moment. Being Kaoru's brother was an interesting thing, until it wasn't. Like I said, I don't give a shit about Kaoru, but at least we could see Ryuji's human side, which was good. I really liked it. I just wanted to see more of Ryuji. He came and he left the game's lore in the same game. At least his design is cool. Purmina didn't get that one either. And if you use weapons in the final fight, I'm disappointed. And I don't want to see you ever again. And I love how most of the people in the community agrees that using weapons against Ryuji in the final fight is just not honorable. You should not use weapons in the end. Just give him the final battle, give him this battle, please. Please just do it. And again, I'm just really happy that the community agrees, and that's so cool. And with this, let's move on to the fighting in this game. It's nothing like in Kiwami 1 or 0. You don't have fighting styles, you only have one style, but you can use weapons. It's more RPG-ish? I don't know, this was the feeling that I got during my playthrough. You have different gear combinations that can lead you to different extras, and there are way more emphasis on weapons than in Kiwami 1 or 0. You can pick up weapons and store them, or you can just use them in the fights. Oh, and the best thing, you can finally just run away from your enemies if you encounter them. This is the best change for sure. But other than that, the new fighting system was weird, and I preferred the old fighting system in the beginning, but with time you get used to it, and now I can't really decide which one is better. But now, what do you need to complete Yakuza Kiwami 2 100%? Nothing special really. I didn't struggle with this one like I did with my Kiwami 1 100%. I didn't struggle with mahjong or collecting weapons and gears. The only extra you need is the bouncer missions, Majima Kensetsu and the hostess club. Now, where should I start? Let's go in order, I guess. The bouncer missions are these quests in Club Debola on Theater Square. You can pick up bouncer missions and then you have to go through a path defeating everyone in your way. Of course you can use weapons, and for most of the parts it's not that difficult, but they can be actually really challenging later on, especially with the time limits. So yeah, it's a really fun minigame. It was really interesting, it was really challenging sometimes, I really liked it, but it's nothing really special, so let's move on to...
Majima Saga!
Majima has a construction company. Yeah, this part of the game is a little weird, but it's Yakuza, and Yakuza is weird, but at least it's really fun. You can build your own Majima Saga clan, and like a tower defense game, you can defend your construction gear from the waves of enemies. There is a little story involving in this whole clan creator minigame, but the story itself is pretty general. I mean, it's nothing special, but for a minigame, it's more than enough. You can upgrade your clan members and you can get new members by recruiting them or in other ways, just like helping them or just beating them up. And there are actual Japanese wrestlers in the game! How amazing is that? And you know what's more amazing? Tenryu's voice.
お安いご用だ。皆様の心を震わせられる料理を目指しております。前菜からデザートまで断りの素材を使い、美味しさと笑顔の絶えないお時間を提供いたします。大切な人との素敵な思い出になりますように。
Oh my gosh, I love his voice! Next!
いらっしゃいませ、お客様。
いらっしゃいませ。
Kiryu got a hostess club? Again, first it was a little weird concept, but in the end it became my favorite minigame. And if you play this, you don't have to worry about money ever again. And while Majima Saga is a crazy side story to the main game, the hostess side storyline is actually pretty chill. You have to manage 8 girls at 6 tables and you have to look at the guest preferences and how your hostess is doing. It's madness after a while, but I really liked it. And you got a ton of money, so it's worth it. It's really fun. It's not as hard as it sounds, but you really have to get the hang of it. And for the minigames, you have the basics: baseball, karaoke, mahjong, shogi, and casino. But they changed some, and they added new ones like golf, retro arcade machines, photo shoots, and peeing. You heard it right, peeing. For points. But finally they fixed karaoke. You know how in previous games the line in the karaoke just went all over the place? Once it's slow and it's completely fine, but then suddenly it speeds up in the next line and there is no indication or warning about the speeding up. You just have to memorize where is it slow and where is it fast. But here they finally got it right and it's like any other rhythm games. This karaoke is way better than any other karaoke in the series. And in general, a lot of minigames got a simpler version, like darts and baseball, and I love how it got simpler, but at the same time it got more enjoyable. So I guess that's Yakuza Kiwami 2 for you. This is a very good game. It's not as good as Kiwami 1 in my opinion, and it has a lot of throwbacks, but it's a really good— Oh yeah, boy! Majima is in the spotlight in Majima Saga. We got to know what happened between the first and the second game. It's not long, it's about an hour and a half to beat it, but it's fun. It's fun. What can I say? It's fun. I like Majima. And for extra fun service, they got Koyasu Takehito. When Ibushi said his first line in the game, I paused, waited, and tried not to hyperventilate from the fact that he is in the game. So there is a villain with an actual pretty general motivation, but with an amazing voice. We got to play as Majima, we got to see how the Majima Saga was formed, but first and foremost, Makoto. For you who played Yakuza 0, this will going to mean a lot more than it did to me, but still, it was so sad and touching. It was such a sad cutscene, even for me. So Majima Saga won't change the world, but it's really fun, and it's a really good— it's just an extra, and it's really fun actually. So, finally I can end this video without any distraction. Like I said, this game looks amazing, feels amazing, and the story is not that terrible as I put it, because there are a lot of people who consider the second game their favorite in the series. Give it a go, and while you are downloading Yakuza Kiwami 2, you can hit the like button and subscribe if you like the video. So thank you so much for watching, have a nice day, and goodbye everyone.